It's because, you see 4 or 5 obstacles. Oh, this always happens, man. Once I start going, this is going to happen. If it ain't one thing, it's another. And we forget that, hey, man, you probably got past 2 or 3 or 4 situations back there, but you're not looking at when you won because it's so easy to look at all the times that you lost. We're back in here again. Honest Moments. I'd like to welcome all the listeners to one of the best podcasts. I'm here right now. This is Greg Walker. I'm here with Nate, the Great Perkins. He on a quest. What's going on, Nate?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. It's funny. My oldest son, he went to school today for the first time. He's my kids are real nostalgic. They like the old school stuff that we used to like. So all the old shows we used to watch, they watch. So we got him a Fresh Prince jersey with everything on it.
On the Bel Air jersey?
Yeah, so he had a nice little, Bel Air baseball jersey. So he was wearing it to school, and he came home, he was like, Dad, you never believe this. Don't nobody know who Fresh Prince is. He was like, some of my teachers did, but like, don't nobody know. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Wow.
It's where we live. I'm sorry.
That's crazy. That's something to think about.
Like nobody, like they didn't even know who. Like he's like Will Smith. It was like, who's Will Smith? So my question to y'all is Will Smith out of is he out of the young?
I guess he's in that
range?
like Sidney Poitier thing range now. Because I mean, dang, like
dude, for real. So these are like 12, 13-year-olds, right? Is Will Smith out of that range?
Man, he's probably at that Denzel level for them, man.
They definitely don't know who Denzel is then.
They were like, who that old man?
Like, how you not know who Fresh Prince is, man? Like,
I'm like, they ain't never heard of Men in Black. No,
Wow West, Independent, bro. Will Smith, oh my goodness.
It was crazy. It blew his mind. He was like, damn, he was like, some of my teachers knew, but they don't know who Fresh Prince is. I was like, oh, you poor child. It just made me it made me feel old though. I'm like, man, are we some of our greats we holding on to? Is that are they the old farts to other people?
They just didn't grow up with that type of culture, I should say. Hopefully that's what it is, because
I was dancing around.
That's crazy,
man. That's wild. And the third leg of the podcast, the main leg is Rico Larry 313, my man Richard Lawrence.
The third leg. All right.
Hey man, hey.
That like
bring somebody else to the podcast.
Like the fifth wheel, is it?
We can take it and make it.
Am I the fifth wheel, Greg? Is that what you're saying?
Hey man, we're just happy you're here, bro. Because if it wasn't for you, man, we still be talking on our phones to each other.
Man, it's a blessing and a privilege.
Hey, I'll take that. So if this is your first time tuning in, this is just the space where me and my brothers get a chance to talk about real life things and be honest and have those moments that we don't normally do in public. So we thought we would come together, do a podcast, and really start to share some of that stuff that we talk about in private, so people can learn from it and, have a laugh or two and still, be able to have something productive going on with their day. So, Rich, I know you was talking about, you had a story or something that happened today, man. Holla at me. What was going on with it?
So I think this story kind of goes back to a couple months ago when, the whole versus, battle started, and there was a particular versus that, kind of drew some attention just because of, the era of the music, and it was the Teddy Riley versus Babyface, right? So when that versus happened, me and my wife, me and Renee, we were, just kind of, doing the throwbacks, having some conversations about songs and, just kind of going back and forth about, which songs were better and so on and so forth, and just kind of, reminiscing basically on some of the old songs that we grew up on, right? So through that, my wife and I, we were able to coach our son on who those two men were. So our son, he ain't gonna be one of them kids that don't know who Will Smith is or don't know who Fresh Prince is, because you know what I'm saying, it's a part of him. It's a part of us. So he gonna have to deal with it. But Y'all nephew decides to go to school.
He was walking through the house singing them
Oh no,
songs.
it's better than that, bro. The nephew's at school, and they're having a little group time. He goes 2 days, Monday, Tuesday, and he's out of school the rest of the week. So them 2 days he be at school, he be ready to turn up. He in school and doing his little group session, and him and his friends are kicking it. And apparently he decided to YouTube in the midst of their work some Babyface songs. So
in class
during the group session in class.
This is not virtual. He is actually
live
in school.
In class. Teacher and students present in classroom. Social.
He's like, let me put you
distance
on.
Group learning or whatever they was doing. Y'all nephew was he was in rare form. So the search history, it goes through where he was on his school stuff, ABC and all that stuff. And then one of the queries was a Google search for just Babyface. So somehow he went from Google to Wikipedia, and then from Wikipedia to YouTube. And
brother was doing his research.
I had to really think about all this. Like, how does he know the name of Babyface songs? Like, he typed in Babyface Whip Appeal. And I'm like, how does he know the name? How does he know that song or know the title of that song? But this man, like, when we in the car, I didn't realize it, but the songs come up on the screen, so he can see the artist title and all that. So he
that brother in the back seat taking notes.
He's back taking mental notes, like, oh yeah, that's that one right there. You know what I'm saying? that's gonna get him right there. So
I'm playing that for Susie tomorrow.
So he plays Whip Appeal, or he searches for Whip Appeal. Then next he hits him with Every Time I Close My Eyes.
Oh man.
So then he goes from Babyface songs, and then he went back over to his work or whatever. So then I guess, what I'm saying, once some songs was over, he was like, I'm gonna take y'all somewhere else. The next search was Tony Braxton Greatest Hits full album on YouTube. So he just hit the playlist for Tony Braxton and started going through that, I guess. And then he ended up on Luther Vandross.
I'm not even mad at Luther.
Bro, I don't know.
Hey.
Oh man. I'm gonna call him Go DJ.
It's around the time he was getting home. He normally get home from school. So I'm like, oh man, what he done did today? So she calls me and she's like, Richard, I got something to tell you. Like, you are not gonna believe this. And she tells me that, and she is like trying not to laugh, but I'm like, Renee, you cannot be for real. I'm like, that's what's up though. Like, at least he paying attention. But in my back of my mind, I'm like, man, how does he remember all that? Like, how does he? But yeah, the teacher told him, it wasn't appropriate for the class, and he don't need to be looking up stuff and searching for stuff, and he had to shut it down.
You should have asked the teacher, did you at least like the playlist?
Hey man, I don't even know if there was a culture to those artists either. So, it is what it is. But yeah, that was my little excitement for the week with my son, man. He prayed for me.
That's funny. So he gonna DJ the old school Friday nights.
Oh yeah, he got it on lock, man. Like, he gonna have, bruh.
We got to make his
little music select. His playlist gonna be cold too.
Man, that's dope though.
Yeah, shout out to DJ Busy B.
That's one of those moments where you be like, man, I'm supposed to be mad at you because you did something, but
I couldn't be mad.
I ain't mad. I can take that.
I was like, it was just like one of them things, like, like.
Hey, speaking of throwbacks, yo, right? Me and Rich had a real great discussion about our verses. And Rich, you can barely hold it in, so I'm looking at you right now like you can only keep one for the rest of your life. Jheri curl or S curl.
And for those who don't know, for those who aren't familiar or don't really know what either or is, S curls were really popular during the 90s, mostly by musicians such as, a lot of R&B singers wore the S curl.
Johnny Gill,
Rick James.
And, they basically achieved this hairstyle by putting, a type of perm or chemical in their hair to enhance the natural curls and make them curlier. I don't know. But yeah. So that's the S curl.
Definitely make it juicy.
The Jheri curl, often spelled like the name Jheri, but it was a permanent wave hairstyle that was popular among African Americans during the 80s and early 90s. The Jheri curl wearer wore a glossy, loose curl look. It was touted as a wash and wear style that was easier to care for than the other popular chemical treatments of the day. So, this was kind of like after that era where...
Why are you trying to sound like so professional right now when you're trying to describe?
I'm trying to explain to the people that don't know, the people that are unfamiliar. We got
a Jheri curl, man.
Listen, man, we got to expand our audience.
Anybody born after 2000.
Yeah, people don't know who Fresh Prince is, so I'm guarantee you, and people ain't gonna know what a Jheri curl or S curl is. But
the fact you took it as if you were speaking on a doctorate level, I was like,
he was reading the product details.
I didn't write it. Wikipedia wrote it. And why is the picture of Wikipedia of Ice Cube with the Jheri curl with that one shirt with his collar pop?
The pink one?
Because man, you gotta, man, Ice Cube made the Jheri curl like that was gangster. That was the first person you ever saw with a Jheri curl. You was like, you at least had to think about it like, nah, but man. You at least had to think about it.
So with that being said, which style are you willing to rock and why for the rest of your life, the rest of your being?
Nate is over there stuck.
That is your style.
All I can hear is what was that comedian? Follow the drip, follow the drip, follow the drip.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Robin
Hey man, it's either that.
Yes.
Just let your soul glow.
Plastic on the couch. Jheri curl juice. Hey, that's
so silky smooth.
Not so. That scene where his parents got up and the stain was on the back of the couch.
It was running down the couch. But yeah, so whoever want to start it off for me, I know what I'm rocking with, but.
Hands down, S curl.
You rocking the S curl?
Listen, man. They almost got me, man. I was about 8 years old. They almost got me. They was like, Greg, you want? I was like, nah, I don't think so. You'll be good, man. This will be tight on you.
They?
We ain't. Nah. They is the late great Gwen Relford. That's my aunt. She passed away. But I mean, she had an S curl in until the day she passed. Like. All the way up. Like she didn't change it. She didn't stop rocking it. I'm talking about she passed in like the late 90s, almost early 2000s. So they almost got me with the Jheri curl. I was like, nah, man, I'm cool with the fade. So my vote is always going to be S curl. Man. Who's up on it, man?
Go ahead, Nate.
Nate, what you got? You down there pondering, man.
You know what he was going on.
Dude, I was trying to in my head come up with pros and cons for both, but I can't.
Oh, it's definitely some pros and cons for both. More cons probably, but
I can't come up with a good pro for a Jheri curl right now. You're like you always got to change your pillowcases. You never go to sleep and not wake up.
You can't play basketball in it, man. You getting that stuff in your eyes, chemically burning your eyes.
But hold on, I wear glasses, mess around, the hair come down and be all in my.
Prince definitely played basketball with a Jheri curl.
Well, he also played with a blouse and he also played with a blouse and high heels. So.
Oh man! So which one you going with, Nate? What's your vote?
Nah, S curl. I could leave the top up, fade up the sides. I could let it all grow out. Yeah, more versatile.
Can you imagine Nate with a gray Jheri curl?
Looking like an 80s preacher. My collar would be wet all the time.
I'm on deck. So I'm gonna just go through. We're gonna break this down a little bit. They both was kind of greasy. They both had that grease effect. The Jheri curl had that drip. That was the original drip, like you said earlier, Greg. Too much drip.
The original drip.
The next, the curl pattern, it just looked like a mop, man. The Jheri curl just was, it looked like a wet mop. No. Ramen noodles. That's what the Jheri curl looked like.
Wet ramen noodles. Wet ramen
The
noodles.
S curl, yeah, it's more versatile. You know, it was. I think it had a longer run than the Jheri curl. Well, a longer popular run. There was still some people holding on to
There's
this.
people who are still rocking Jheri
Oh yeah,
curls
for
now,
sure. And
man.
they all
Shout
smell
out
the
to
same.
my
man.
father-in-law's
They got that
girlfriend.
luster. They got that luster and that Murray's in, and it smell. All you smell is just juice. If you get within like 10 feet of them, just grease and juice.
And the bad thing about Jheri curls, I'm sorry, I gotta throw this out. You always had to have the bottle with the spray, and all you heard was.
Yeah, you know, there's some people that we can definitely ask, get involved in this debate, but we ain't gonna do that. You know, it's getting a little late. But yeah, my mother definitely had it. I'm an '80s baby. I was born in '86, and she definitely was rocking it to the fullest when she when I was a younger.
Yeah, it was popular in the '80s, boys.
Oh yeah, it was, man. The Jheri curl, bro. It was easy. It was really an easy hairstyle if you think about it, man. All you had to do was wash it.
I thought you were going to say water it.
Yeah, water. It's like a chia pet. Look like water it, grease it.
All you had to do was put it in a bag.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely would never be caught with neither one. But if I had to choose, I would go with the S curl and yeah, that Jheri curl.
First time ever, unanimous decision on the verses, and the champ right now, S curls. So if you are still out there rocking that S curl, that Jheri curl,
more power to you, bro.
It's time to call it quits.
Hey, don't let them talk to you. Do you? Keep doing your thing.
Nate, you the reason why people still rocking this stuff. Oh man, do you? Ain't nothing wrong with that. Keep going. You keep doing. You look good in it.
If somebody's still rocking a Jheri curl and it's 2021, you better keep doing that.
No. And I'm glad we're talking about what we're talking about. And I'm going to bring up the topic now because it's people like Nate. That's the reason why we still got Jheri curls in 2021. It's your fault, Nate. So look, man. Hey, so today's topic, we're going to throw it out, is sabotage. And I think it goes straight with what you're trying to do, Nate. I'm sorry. You are not helping people come to the realization you need to let the Jheri curl go.
Dude, if I promise you, if they have survived and been confident to rock something like that up until now, more power to you.
Maybe it's because they had people like you telling them it's cool, Nate. That's what he's saying.
I didn't say it was cool.
No,
I'm saying, do you?
Encouraging it, man.
No, I ain't saying it's cool. I ain't saying it look good, but I'm saying if you've done it and you want to continue doing it, do you, boo?
Okay, so help me to understand how do we help people, or let me kind of rephrase how I want to say this, but what is self-sabotage, and like how do we fall into this trap of self-sabotage, man? Because to me, if you still rocking a curl in 2021, that's self-sabotage. You killing yourself on this one.
Self-sabotage is goes hand in hand with what we were talking about on the last episode, with the self-discipline. It's the exact opposite of what, what I'm saying, what qualities you need to be self-disciplined, such as, not allowing yourself to, basically putting yourself in a position where you can't hit your goals and putting it and focusing on the roadblocks and the negative and just being a victim, stuff like that. You block yourself from your goals, basically, is what self-sabotage is.
I read this book last year, 2020, called The Big Leap. And it talks about the things that keep us from making that next step to whatever our goal is. And a lot of it talks about these issues that really we get to a certain place. It talks about us having an internal thermometer. And when we get to this certain threshold of either happiness or success or comfort, it usually makes us like that point where we get uncomfortable. Like if you never made six figures before and you start making six figures and that's your limit, sometimes you'll fall into a place where you start self-sabotaging. which means you'll have a behavior or a mindset that pulls you back down to a place where you're comfortable, right? So I've experienced that before, where either hit a level of success or a level of expectation, or I'm in a different atmosphere where I've never been before, and like this internally thing that says, "Oh, this is different. It's uncomfortable. I don't know if I'm equipped to be here."
Start defeating yourself off top.
You start like in your head, in your heart, you don't have the things to match up, and you start doing stuff to bring yourself back down. That happens in relationships, business, all that stuff.
You fighting yourself to get back to the comfort zone that you used to be in there.
And I think there's many different reasons why you might get to that. Some of it could be like, I don't feel like I'm worthy. I don't feel like I'm equipped. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that go into that.
I think it could be unintentionally with, just low self-esteem, or it can be intentionally with just, being lazy, or just, not having a strong work ethic or a drive or a purpose.
So can you attribute it to not wanting to adjust or evolve, or like, is it you don't want to, or is it something else?
I think it's fear. It's like we've been saying, it's that unfamiliar ground. It's that the lack of confidence. It's all that, it's not anything that I think we want. I think we want to reach our goal. We want to get to whatever it is, but at the same time, we want to do it in a way that doesn't stretch us or doesn't, I guess, put us in an uncomfortable position.
Got you. So to me, when I'm hearing you say this, you may not even know you can be going through self-sabotage at times. Like I'm, and it's funny, and I'm sorry, and I'm gonna stay here because it was hilarious. Those people who are like going through a Jheri curl right now, they don't understand, like, hey man, this might be defeating everything they want to do as far as like move forward in their life. They kind of stuck in that one spot, but they don't even understand or acknowledge that they still stuck there. Does that make sense? So like, how do we help people identify like, yo, okay, I'm still stuck. I need to move. I need to grow. I have everything in me. Like, how can you start to identify when you self-sabotaging?
It can be simple things. It can be small things, such as, rejecting or not accepting, praise or compliments is one thing that's big in self-sabotage. Like, and that goes into pride and some other things. But, when someone accredits or gives you credit for something or praises you for doing something, just kind of blowing it off or downplaying it, that's self-sabotage, because you're not acknowledging, that someone is even taking the time to give you that praise or give you that acknowledgement. Other things could be just trying to do everything yourself. That's something I struggle with in a lot of facets in life. My work life, my relationship, my son, a lot of things I do. I unintentionally try to take on too much, but at the same time, it's easier for things to fall by the wayside or get missed because, I don't have those other checks and balances in place to keep me accountable. And then just, separating yourself, pushing people away. That's another form of self-sabotage. That's something that I think a lot of people do out of guilt or out of being ashamed of whatever their certain situations may be. And that's detrimental. That can cause you to go to some other things and go into some other things mentally that, man, it can be destructive.
Sometimes taking on too much. In that, I think something that goes along with that, sometimes when there's that fear creeps up about like maybe taking that next step to go to the next level, you find yourself taking on all these other things because these other things are comfortable. So you're doing a lot of things that really you're not supposed to do. Like maybe you're supposed to be like, that you need to make that sales call, but instead of making that sales call because you're scared, you start working on a flyer or you start working on, you justify definitely because you're good at it, right? It needs to be done, right? But the most important thing for your success is really making that sales call. But what you're sabotaging yourself because you're not stepping into that fear. You're doing something different. And I've fallen into that.
Procrastination.
Yeah, it's another form of procrastination. Busyness is the ultimate form of procrastination because you're not doing the one thing that you really should be doing.
To me, it sounds like really like it's like you're not being in control of your life, but the fear is. It's like the fear is almost controlling your life. It's telling you where to go. Don't do this. Go do that. So one piece of it is that I'm understanding is like, who's really in control? Like, are you the one who's in control, or is it the fear that's in control?
I think for some, that's like I can speak for me. So sometimes the fear can be so visceral and so real in my mind. And it's not necessarily fear because I'm like scared of something, but fear of like all the what ifs, the possibilities. Like, what if I'm actually successful? Like, what if I'm actually into this new realm? What will be the new expectations of me? Like, will they expect me to do this over and over again? Can I do this over and over again? So if I operate at this top level and I produce something that's extraordinary, can I do it again? And sometimes that fear of, can I do it again? Will they expect it? It's like, maybe I don't do it. Maybe I play low into a place I know I can repeat this over and over again. So let me just play low and do that.
Ooh.
Right. Yeah. Play, like you said, play it safe.
Yeah.
But here, real quick, hold on, real quick. Cause I want to give the people a couple other things because somebody might be like, well, I don't have those type of things. And I don't know if I'm self-sabotaging. Let me give you a couple more. Yeah. So one is like, you worry a lot. There's always there's a boogeyman everywhere. Right. Another one is you get into that blame criticizing game where you're because maybe you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Now you start criticizing those that you see doing it in your lane. Right. You start blaming.
But you're too scared to do it, but you can talk about it and say and criticize what everybody else doing.
That's what I was about to say. It's almost like you justifying again why you where you're at because it's what that person is doing exactly what they should be doing. So now you feel a certain kind of way because you're supposed to be doing it.
Definitely. So it's that. And then the other one is, I think I've spoken of just doubting yourself. Another one, which is I thought was weird when I read about this one, but sometimes people can get physically sick. So like when it's time to go to that next level, for some reason there's a pattern that comes up where, this happens with my children sometimes. I need to do it. I have a test that I need to do. I feel some type of way about my test, and they get themselves so worked up that actually they are physically sick. They have the capabilities, they've studied, they've done all these things, but now they're like throwing up. And they use that as an excuse not to move forward. And then another one, I think, Rich put it on, is just throwing success away, not being able to celebrate. Like things that have gone well, you've done well, you've excelled, you've done excellent work. And instead of celebrating, you're like, nothing. I don't even want to bring attention to it.
That's a big one too, because I think that it also goes into that, like, kind of like that, or can go into that like obsessive compulsive thing to where you don't want to do something because you don't think it's going to be 100% how people should think it should be. And you don't think it's going to be to your standards. But at the same time, like, that trying to be perfect, you know what I mean? In order to get perfect, you got to practice and you got to work towards it. And, it's very rare that, we can gain a skill or get a skill or become comfortable with doing something without practicing it and doing it repetitively. If we're not making that attempt to do it, yeah, it's going to be a struggle and we're going to doubt ourselves and doubt our ability.
So let me ask you a side question. What was the biggest thing in your own life that you sabotaged, that you look back on, you was like, man, I had it. I let myself get out of pocket. I messed it up. And when you look back at it, there was no justifiable reason for you to have not had it. Like, what was the biggest thing in your life that you messed up on? I know for me, nah, I know for me, it was jobs. It was a job that I had previously where I was a trainer. And I didn't miss out on it. Let me just say that I just really started beating myself up. And if I didn't have people in my corner who could tell me, hey, man, you can do this and you need to do this, I don't know where I would be at today, because I got promoted to a vice president's level. And the first thing I started to tell myself, like, I don't know how to write these types of reports. I'm not a great writer. I don't know anything about this level. I don't even have anyone in my family at this level. I've never seen this type of thing before. And it's that whole thing, because I haven't had an example, because I haven't had anybody blaze the trail in front of me, I really started questioning, like, do you got the pedigree to do this? Just remember, your mom stopped school in the 9th grade. Like, you just barely made it from high school. Like, you start to tell yourself these stories of all your greatest losses, not your greatest hits, not your greatest victories. And I remember sitting there and I almost didn't take the job because of that. Cause I was like, you know what? I think I'm better if I just stay at a trainer. It was comfortable for me. It fit me to a T, like a glove. I was comfortable with the clientele, but when I got that job, if it wasn't for having a couple people in my life who were like mentors who said, how do you know you're built for this? How do you know this didn't come to you because you need to help somebody else? They gave me that push. They gave me that drive to go to that next level and stay there, because once I got my feet up underneath me, now it took me a minute, but once I got my feet up underneath me, I was over with. And I increased my salary, and then I went on to get another job that increased my salary again. But if I didn't take that one position, I probably would have been stuck at the same level as a trainer, and missed out on many of opportunity moving forward. So talk to me about some of those times in your life where you know, Rich, where you look back and was like, man, it got me, or it almost got me.
Yeah, for me, man, one thing I think that I self-sabotage myself with was just putting other people's needs or putting other people's problems before my own or before myself, and always trying to make myself, I guess, able to help or able to try to fix it. You know what I mean? And that wasn't necessarily my place or necessarily my job to do that, but to an extent, I think I overextended myself, because it was me putting myself in a position to try to fix something that wasn't in my control or wasn't something that I necessarily caused. And that goes back to just like relationships and just, with things and all kind of stuff, man. Looking back, I think that I could have done some things different with putting other people's situations. I won't necessarily classify them all as problems, but just other people's situations before my own, or before my immediate needs.
Right. So, Nate, what about you, man? Tell me about the time when you either almost stopped or you stopped, or what happened.
Man, I got a list.
Honest moment.
Laundry list. Is like looking back over my life. Like, I can look at my first time that I did it that I can really recognize. Elementary school. And then recently, it's been many like relationships. Like we talked about several episodes ago about this inner circle, right? So getting close to people and relationships starting to develop, and like being aware that that's happening, but doing things that stop it, that stop the progression. Like, I'm sure there's been many times where I've connected with people, and it'd be like, those God moments where you'd be like, all right, I really am vibing with these people, or like a group of men or anybody, right? And you kind of recognize that, okay, God is connecting us for a reason. And then because of my own insecurities, because of my own maybe thoughts of, oh, I have nothing to bring to the table, or, oh, this is going to be more work than maybe it needs to be, or, it's pulling me out of my comfort zone. It's going to require something more of me. What if I don't meet their expectations? I do stuff to draw back, or I do stuff to block out, or I do stuff to like distance myself from the group or the person, and then I can't go back and I miss the moment.
You put that knight's armor on, right, Nate?
Yeah, and it's hard to go back and create that connection and that bond again. And like when I go back and think about it, you're like, man, God could have had something going for a minute where maybe I needed to maybe needed to get something from that person, or I needed to give something to that person, but I missed it because of a place where I wasn't comfortable.
So it sounds like, man, our relationships really do impact if we push ourselves or if we hold ourselves back. Like, Rich, man, speak to somebody who's sitting in one of these relationships where it's like, they're, like kind of like what Nate was saying, where it's like, it's limiting you. It's almost like they're putting the lid on the jar and they're not allowing you to go past or reach your full maximum potential. Speak to those people who are kind of in that relationship.
I mean, yeah, like your relationship should enhance, you know what I'm saying? Any relationship that you have with anybody, whether it's, whether it's intimate with your spouse, whether it's a work relationship, a friendships, your family, everything, at least on your end, should enhance and should be to the point to where, that iron sharpens iron. You know what I mean? My relationship with my son is like nobody else can have that relationship with him. So it's up to me to make sure I make the best of that relationship and create a situation to where he ain't gonna always have to depend on me, but he knows that he can, but he has that independence to, make the right decision or change the narrative of a situation based on his actions. Anybody that's in a situation where, they're overexerting themselves or I guess holding themselves back, like Nate was saying, that's really something to look at. That's really something to analyze. And, if any of those things that we spoke about is, if it sounds like something that, that you do or that is a characteristic of yours, really just, step back and look at the entire circumstance of the relationship and determine whether or not it's going to be something that's going to be a relationship that you want to carry on into the future. And if so, what can you do different or, make those changes in yourself so that, if the other person in that relationship has those same characteristics, they'll see that change in you and it'll make the situation better.
Nate, man, you were in that situation. Talk to somebody who's going through the same thing, man. What's the first thing you would tell them? Like, you need to do this.
There's a litany of things. I think one of the things goes back to the same book. Take a breath. Stop. Take a breath. Become aware of the pattern, right? So a lot of times when you fall into those self-sabotaging behaviors, you can recognize when the things start creeping up. Right. So like if you're in a relationship with somebody, and we're talking about if like in this particular situation, we're talking about relationships. If you're in a relationship with somebody and let's say it could be anything. You could be in a romantic relationship or a business relationship or anything. Right. But if you feel that or you feel yourself, maybe it's like that 2-year, like for a minute, I had a 2-year threshold. Like I would be in a relationship for 2 years. And then at the end of that 2 years, there would be things that happen where I would start to pull away and I would do certain things that would cause rifts to happen. Recognize those patterns, like recognize those things that come up again. Recognize if you're starting to feel irritable. Recognize like, what is your body telling you? Are you getting some like knots in your stomach or something like that? Recognize those type of patterns. Become very aware of yourself. So they might look at, doing some reflection on times in the past where it's happened before and kind of look at, okay, what were the things that led up to this happening? And then taking action to stop that. Like, so if you feel yourself pulling back from a relationship that is good, it's healthy, it's where you're supposed to be, all these things are right and in place and you feel yourself pulling back, stop and be like, why am I doing this? And then if you recognize that, I'm at a place where I'm starting to self-sabotage, like go in a different direction. Figure out what is that opposite behavior and go that way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's big. I think sometimes, I mean, just not being able to see the patterns and then also acknowledge them for what they are. Because sometimes we want to be like, well, nah, man, I'm just tense because, I just had a long day at work. You know what I mean? Instead of being real with yourself, sometimes you got to be real. Like, you know what? Every 2 years, I'm getting rid of my relationships. You got to be able to be honest with yourself and see the patterns for really what they are. I want to touch base. It was something I heard before, and it kind of speaks to what we were talking about as far as like with your circle and with your huddle, helping you either push yourself or keeping you locked in that cell. And somebody said something once, I think it was TD Jakes. He said, man, I'll know exactly how much money you'll make based off the friends that you hang around with. Right? Because your friends and your family or the people close to you, like Rich was saying, a significant other, they should be pushing you to excel. They should be pushing you to excel even when you don't even see yourself excelling. So I think just being able to see the patterns, acknowledge the patterns for what they are, understanding the friends that you're around, that's going to be some things that's going to help out with it, man. So, how do we keep ourselves from being victimized and not falling into this whole realm of self-sabotage? Because it is a victimization of yourself. That's the bad thing about it. It's like you beating yourself up. So how do we stop with the victimization of this?
Being self-aware and recognizing those patterns. Another thing is this, a lot of times it's an internal talk. So you have these negative thoughts or negative feelings that come either from whatever place they come from. Like you got to reverse that, stop negative talk. And then focus on what you bring to the table. Focus on what God has gifted you with. Focus on, what God has given you, the strengths that you have, that will help you push forward into these new arenas, whether it be in relationship, business, or whatever.
For me, it's just the things that I had to recognize and change in myself. I was one of those people that, kind of downplayed compliments and accolades, is to be something that's just like, it is what it is. But now I think I'm learning that, me showing gratitude is more, I guess, flattering than me kind of downplaying it and blowing off a compliment or I think that it's kind of disrespectful in a sense. And I think that, and that's on the outward, going out, it's disrespectful, but for the end, it's destructive because you don't have a bar, or there's no, like, I feel like there's no standard. So when someone gives you that compliment, it's just, if it's downplayed or if it's just pushed to the side, and it's like, it's almost like you expected it, and you
take it for granted.
Yeah, you take it for granted.
No, I was going to ask the question, like, do you ever think that it may be a sense of worth? Like, are you worthy of the compliment? Are you worthy of the accolade? Are you worthy of people heaping positivity on you?
But that's funny you said that, because I literally wrote that down. I was like, it really boils down to not being worthy, or at least you seeing yourself as not being worthy. Like, I know it was plenty of times, like, Rich, you wasn't the only one who did this, where it was like, we would be in church and someone would be like, hey man, you did a great job with this. And I would just be like, all right, cool. Right. But not really being able to take it in, like, yo, I did a great job, which would help and build my confidence. I just kind of brushed it off. But then when I had to really have high confidence in a situation, it was almost like I didn't fill up that gas tank.
Yeah, you didn't have a well confidence.
I didn't. So when I got into tough situations, the well of you're nothing, that's already been filled. You get that all the time. People tell you you're not worthy all the time. So that tank stayed filled.
It's funny though, because to you, inside of you, is a lack of, or it's a lack of confidence in your ability or what you're able to do. But to the person, it could be, oh, he's cocky, he's arrogant, or he's full of himself because of how the perception of your reaction comes off. And that's something I had to realize and I learned by giving somebody a compliment and them doing what I do to them. It was like, man, you were like, that was kind of like jerkish, you know what I'm saying? And doing that, I had to realize, like, man, you know what? I do that. And that's when it clicked for me. Like, yeah, that's destructive. That's detrimental. So absolutely, what you're saying is correct.
So how have you all been filling your tanks dealing with that? So Nate, you in a relationship that's definitely lasted longer than 2 years. How did you get over the 2-year hump, man? And Rich, how did you get to that point where you started, accepting the compliments? What was the catalyst for all of that?
Yeah, that's what I just said. It was me giving somebody, or me, putting it out, or me complimenting somebody and them basically reacting how I would normally react, and me realizing like how it could come off. It may not necessarily be our intention or the person who's doing it intention, but to the, when it's reciprocated to you, it's like, I get it. You know what I'm saying? That aha moment.
Gotcha. Yeah. What was your aha moment, Nate? In your relationships, man? What helps you get past that 2 year?
Really, I don't know if it was different, but it was different in the sense that I had purpose behind it. And like, this was what came with, that was my wife. I felt like this is what God said. God said, this is my wife. And with that came a certain level of, I'm in this for the long haul, no matter what.
Some commitment to it.
And there was skin in the game. There was commitment, and there was a sense of, I don't know what other word to actually put to it, but it was like that level of commitment to say that no matter how I felt, because I felt so strongly about marriage, no matter how I felt. There's been some days where it didn't.
Be careful, you gotta go back home.
I'm already home. It's all right.
She listens to the podcast.
She do. She's a great supporter. I appreciate that. But she knows. I mean, there was sometimes, early on in our marriage, and just like in marriage, you hit those points. You can get that honeymoon is over, you hit that 2 year part, and then you hit that 5 year, then you hit that, after that first kid, all those different marks, and it don't be hitting like it used to. But you make that commitment to be like, no matter how I feel, I'm choosing to love, I'm choosing to stick, I'm choosing to stay, and we're going to work through this. So it's that level, at that part, it was that level of commitment.
That level of commitment, like the Jheri curl in 2021.
Hey, if you committed to it in 2021, hey, rock that out. Yeah, do your thing. It's all right.
What was your moment? What was your epiphany?
I think for me, what really hit me when it goes back to something that Nate said, which was when I found purpose in what I was doing. I knew that I was ready to stay in these certain positions, right? I was able to stand here because I felt like this was my calling, to help people be better at their jobs, help people be better at whatever the next level was calling for them. So for me, that aha moment was when I really started to understand my gifts that I was given. I was able to understand that there was a value in me, right? And I'll tell you exactly when it hit. Me and my wife, we took the DISC assessments, right? And I read through my assessment, and I was really starting to think, I was really starting to look at it, and I was really starting to think like, okay, God, you made me specifically like this. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't any of this stuff. You made me specifically like this, and then you placed me in this environment. And I was like, so what was the advantage? Why did you create this superpower? That's what I always tell people, man. Everybody's been given a superpower, right? Why did you give me this superpower to be here? I'm not like them. And I always envied what the other person or the other group of people used to do and be able to accomplish, and never truly valued my own until I was able to really see my superpower for what it was, right? And my job was to connect people. I had other people at my job or other people in certain environments that their thing was, hey, we're about getting the task done. We're about moving forward. We're not about relationships. And I didn't understand, Rich, at the time. My goal, or at least my purpose while I was there, I was supposed to keep people connected because so many people were only focused on the task that they didn't have real genuine relationships. They didn't have that. And my job was to create that and keep people connected. Once I saw that, I valued everything differently. I valued how I spoke. I valued that I was always laughing. I valued that I loved people, that I was loyal to people, and that I would go out the way to help anybody. I was able to see specifically why I've been made and why I was shaped the way I was shaped. And I even value the experiences that I went through even more that even shaped me this way. So to anybody who's out there listening right now, I think some of the key to stop self-sabotage is, one, is really starting to understand and getting it in your mind and in your heart that you've been made a specific way. You need to find a purpose in your life. You need to find a purpose in your marriage. You need to find a purpose in anything that you're doing, because that's going to fill your tank and help you start to battle that whole feeling of not being worthy. Right. And then you're going to surround yourself with some people who can really push you to that next level, and who see something greater in you. Like I tell this story to all my students, was that I knew it was time to marry my wife when I was living in basically the condemned building. Rich, I think you've been there once, and Nate, I think you saw it once, where it was just like I lived in this place for 4 years with no electricity and no running water. And when I brought Alyssa to the building, and I was like, man, depending on how she reacts, this will determine if I ask her to marry me or not. And when she came in there, she was like, man, there's a lot we can do with this. And she said, yo, I'm willing to give you $3,000 to help you rebuild this. At that moment, I knew she was the right person to be around, because at my lowest moment, she still saw value in me. And I was like, you keep your money. I'll take you because you're worth the 3,000. You complete me. But I was when I saw that, man, like she was like, man, we can do this. We can do this with the place. And man, I was like, man, if you willing to love me when I don't have lights, come on, man. If you willing to see past, I don't have running water right now, but I'll get there. Oh man, I need you on the team, because when I doubt myself, you're going to be one of those people who's like, yo, you can do it. And then that same woman turned around and invested in my company another $3,000 after we were married 10 years. She still sees something in me. She's like, man, I know this is going to be a dope company. I know you're a dope trainer. You're going to be able to help people, and I believe in you. So here's $3,000 to get your business started. I was just like, man, I definitely got the right one. So that's where I was at, man. When I started getting that, I was good to go.
That's dope, man. Something I wanted to add, a lot of people, again, don't recognize or realize what or when they are self-sabotaging. And, it's subtle things, like our eating habits, our sleeping habits. Those things play into the self-sabotage, because those are the easiest things that can suffer due to whatever self-sabotage we're dealing with. The abuse of certain things, such as food, alcohol, drugs, whatever it may be, whatever your vice may be. I think identifying what causes that stress or that anxiety in you, and just fighting that thing, just pushing past it, and identifying it first so that you can push past it. That's something that I'm realizing in myself, that it's certain things, certain ways I approach certain situations that like we talked about last week. A lot of times I try to attack a goal with the end in mind, and not necessarily worry about the small battles or the small things, but a lot of times those small battles are what trip people up, or what cause people to get off their path of whatever they're trying to achieve. So really just focusing on those things and identifying where you're weak or where you have opportunities at, and then, you know, attacking that and pushing past those so that you can, you know, identify and overcome those obstacles.
You're not that weak victim. Like you are not subject to always taking what happens to you, right? So it's stuff might not work out. You know, so stuff might be hard. You might run into roadblocks in your pursuit of whatever it is, whether it be, you know, business, relationship, personal goals, weight loss, whatever. But you're not a victim. You always there is always power that lies within your hands and within your mind and in your thoughts. And I can speak for myself. One of the key characteristics of when I fall into that place of self-sabotaging is I forget the power that I have. I forget the what has actually been placed in my hand, and that I have this ability. I have abilities that God gave me. I have places and characteristics that God has ordained for me to have. And I have a purpose that has been laid out for me. And it's a matter of just walking in it. And when we get to that place where we don't realize that and we start playing that victim game, that's a key place where we'll those behaviors will start creeping up, because you'll be encouraged to, I can't do this. I'm not, you know, this is hard. You know, there's ulterior motives here, and they really ain't true about, you know, what they're asking me to do, or they don't see me, so forget it. I ain't even gonna work hard now. You know, I ain't getting what I think I should get.
Yeah, it's funny, man. It's also those self-fulfilling prophecies. Oh man, it ain't gonna work out for me. I already know that off top. Going back to your note of, you know, that self-talk, and going back to the characteristics of what self-sabotage looks like, it's because, you know, you see 4 or 5 obstacles. Oh, this always happens, man. You know, once I start going, you know, this is gonna happen. If it ain't one thing, it's another. And we forget that, hey man, you know, you probably got past 2 or 3 or 4 situations back there, but you're not looking at when you won, because it's so easy to look at all the times that you lost.
Yeah, it's not finding a way to be grateful, like finding some gratitude in, like, man, I'm grateful that I've, you know, for some people,
self-gratitude.
Yeah, self-gratitude. For some people, you need to applaud just the fact that you are at the place that you're at right now. Like you need to applaud the fact that you made it through 2020.
Hey, shout out to us real quick. Hey, we can get in a totally different space right now, and that's real what you're saying, man.
It's true. So it's like don't let this mind get on a negative rut, you know, and go on a negative down a negative path. You know, change that with some gratitude. Change that with understanding that you have worth, you have value, you got skills and gifts. You know, no matter what it is, you got some skills and gifts. And
with humility,
bring that to the table.
Do it with humility.
Oh, definitely, most definitely.
I just think people don't really realize how much power they have over their attitude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's funny, man. I was watching something with Tony Robbins, and he had people go through this exercise of thinking of the best thing that happened to him, and you saw them get full of energy, and then he went to something that was the worst thing that happened to him and had them relive it, and you saw the energy in them kind of dissipate. And then he brought them right back to the thing. And he was like, if you can control it now, you can control it at any other time in your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think sometimes we really forget, like, I feel this way right now, but I can change how I feel at this very moment, at this very time.
Yeah. What's the quote is that, you know, we can't control all the time what happens to us, but we can control how we respond to it.
Listen, man, I think that's a good little note to kind of leave off on. I think that's a good little note to leave off on. And again, kind of doing a little bit of a recap. You know, some of the things we need to look out for when we're going through this self-sabotage moment. Blah, 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 blah. So, making sure we identify the problem, being honest with ourselves, not playing the victim role. Surround yourself with people who see you better than you see yourself. Making sure we have great positive relationships, fighting the self-fulfilling prophecies, and, being grateful and controlling your attitude. I think if we really lock in on those, 2021 won't see us self-sabotage. I got two great brothers right here. You have listened to Honest Moments podcast.
I just want to say, we have our loyal listeners, but if you know somebody, who can benefit from this, it's just us sharing. It's just us, kind of putting ourselves out, just making ourselves vulnerable so that we can help somebody. So if it's something that, you can gain from this, listen to it again, leave us a comment or share a thought with us, pass it along to somebody else. We in it for, it's bigger than us. You know what I'm saying? If we can help somebody, that's more than any monetary dollar or anything that we can get in return. So, I appreciate y'all brothers too, and I appreciate everybody listening right now. Pass it to Nate.
Man, this has been a good conversation though. Like for real, like almost self-therapeutic.
We healed you.
We working on it,
Did
man.
We
working on it. We working on it. Nah, but
last podcast we made it into the circle. Now we healing him, Rich. Oh.
Wah, wah, wah. Nah, real quick. I got a little quote I want to leave with everybody. So you are only confined by the walls you build yourself.
Break down them walls. If you built you some, break them down. Build a door, build a window, something to get through it.
Definitely. You have the power. You have the power to do that. To break out of whatever confinement you place yourself in.
Because you're not protecting yourself. You're not protecting yourself. You creating a cell.
You trying to keep what's out there from coming in, but you also preventing yourself from building anything better or going out, or you know what I'm saying, exposing yourself to new things. So
I'm your host, Greg Walker. I'm out here with Rico Larry 313 on all platforms, and I'm out here with He on a Quest. See, I got it right this time, Nate. He on a Quest. All platforms, and you can also find me on Catalyst Training, all platforms. Man, look us up. Also, like, share, get your mama involved, get the kids, get the dog.
Honest Moments podcast on Instagram, Facebook. Like, comment, share.
Come on. Somebody in your life needs to hear this.
All that.
Love y'all. Till next time.